Ever since September 21st, 1996, Lad has been the center of my universe. Well, sort of. We've had a few other things come up. Kids, work, you know the drill. But now that we're empty nesters, he's back front and center again. So I've always got food on the brain that Lad is gonna love and that I'm gonna love too. So I am making Lad's prime rib. It's every bit as delicious as every other prime rib I've made, but it's downsized, enough for 2 dinners and some really delicious leftovers. I am making rub for the prime rib first, and I put a whole bunch of Dijon mustard and mayo into this little food processor, and I just added salt and pepper, and I have some fresh thyme leaves, some rosemary leaves, and then 3 cloves of garlic, just drop it right in, along with some crushed red pepper flakes. All right, I'm gonna let the little food processor kind of pulse this up. That did not take long. And oh, I love all the little flecks of herbs in there. I'm gonna smell it. Oh my gosh, that smells good. I love the Dijon in this rub. Okay, now for the prime rib. Of course, a regular large rib roast would be about this big, so I just got a smaller one. This is more than enough for 2 very generous dinners of prime rib, plus some cold prime rib out of the fridge, which is part of the joy of making prime rib in the first place. It's having all those leftovers. All right, I'm gonna pour the rub over, and I'm gonna get really messy here. Just rub it all over the top and the sides. All right, once you get the rub on there, it needs to sit overnight if you have the time, but I'm just gonna let it sit for about an hour. See you back here then. All right, I got the prime rib on a rack in a heavy roasting pan. So it's gonna roast at 500 degrees for about 15 minutes just to get that initial sear on the outside. And then I'll drop the temperature to 325, and it'll take another 60 to 70 minutes after that to get to medium rare. And then I'll take it out and let it rest for about 10 minutes. So I'll see you on the other side. Okay, the prime rib is out of the oven. It's been resting, and doesn't it look so good? It's always good to let prime rib rest. It's hard to do because it always smells so good when it first comes out of the oven. But while it rests, I'm gonna make a simple jus to go with it, and I'll show you the roasting pan. When I removed the beef, I scraped all of the grease out of the pan and as much of those little bits as I could. And I put it into a separate skillet, and it's really, really hot. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of flour. I'm not making a gravy, so I don't wanna add too much, but a little bit of flour just kind of helps give the jus a little bit of body without making it too thick like a gravy. And then I'm gonna cook this roux for a good 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll whisk it the whole time, and that'll help it get deeper and deeper in color and flavor. All right, now it's time to add the beef stock. So I will whisk as I add it. It just kind of packs a punch and gives the prime rib just a little extra something, something. All right, now I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper just for a little extra seasoning. And it's as simple as that. Okay, I need to give this just a little time to heat up after adding that stock. So I will go ahead and slice a big piece of this prime rib. And another thing I love about prime rib is you can cut it as thin or as thick as you like, just depending on who you're serving. I'm going a little bit thinner just to show you the portion size that Lad and I usually eat. All right, so this is where the magic happens. When that first piece falls and you can see how perfectly this prime rib is cooked. Look at that, it's just the perfect medium rare. Oh, that is a beautiful sight. You can go a little closer to medium if you like it less pink, but I wouldn't recommend going too far past this. All right, and to serve prime rib, I also like to include a pile of buttery, creamy mashed potatoes. All right, I'm gonna make a little well in this pile of mashed potatoes. And look what happened while I was gone. This jus is just bubbling away. So I'll get a nice ladle full and I'll drizzle it over the prime rib. And I like to put a little extra spoonful over the mashed potatoes. Now a sprinkle of parsley, I like to put it on both the mashed potatoes and the prime rib. All right, prime rib with mashed potatoes and a lovely, delicious jus. This is Lad's idea of heaven. It's pretty much my idea of heaven too. Hey, that rhymed. Lad's favorite prime rib comes with benefits, the leftovers. I am going to use some of that leftover prime rib to make a prime rib sandwich. It is luxurious and hearty and pretty much the best sandwich I've ever had. I'm making some onions for the sandwich and I caramelized some red onions and garlic in a little bit of butter, and they are about as cooked as onions can get. So just for a little hint of something special, I'm gonna add a little bit of red wine, not too much, and stir the onions, and it just results in this deep, rich, almost like onion wine jam. And that skillet was so hot that that wine pretty much already reduced. So I'm gonna add a teeny bit of cream. And this is not to create anything creamy, it's just to make the onion mixture just even more decadent and rich. So I'll stir that in. Oh my heavens. Okay, I'm gonna turn the heat off of the onions because they are all done. And now I'm moving to the other skillet. This sandwich is topped with melty, gooey cheese. So rather than put the sandwich under the broiler and risk overcooking the beef, I'm gonna melt the cheese in a separate skillet. So I'll just kind of overlap 3 slices of provolone, and that won't take very long for that cheese to melt. So while that happens, I'll get the other parts of the sandwich ready. So I'm using these nice little rolls. This sandwich is so decadent, you don't need a very big one. Just kind of a small one really packs a punch. So on half of the roll, I'm gonna add some Dijon, and keeping it real here, on the other half, I'm using, yes, bottled ranch dressing. I'm just gonna admit, it's from a bottle, and that's okay. So I'll smear the ranch on one half, and I'll smear the Dijon on the other half. So now I'll add the beef to the roll, and look at this. I took that leftover prime rib and sliced it about as thin as my knife was capable of slicing. So you can kind of drape the pieces over each other. All right, the beef is ready, and that's a good thing because look at the cheese. Perfectly melted. So I am literally scraping this cheese right out of the skillet and onto that prime rib. Oh my gosh, help me. And yes, you guessed it, this glorious onion mixture. I mean, I don't even know what to call this onion mixture. It's just delicious. The garlic in there really sends what would be regular caramelized onions just completely over the top. And speaking of over the top, I'll just put the lid on, and look at that. The bar for prime rib sandwiches has officially been raised. Wow. This is probably my favorite thing to do with leftover prime rib. Actually, I have another favorite. It's a prime rib salad that I absolutely adore. I think you're gonna adore it too. It is absolutely a favorite on the ranch. I start with a mix of chopped romaine and iceberg lettuce, add some ranch dressing, halved cherry tomatoes, and thinly sliced red onion. I toss everything together, tip it onto a platter, and arrange strips of that divine prime rib on top. So delicious. Oh, I love that salad. Oh, I love this sandwich. I tell you, the word leftover do not do those two recipes justice. They are both incredible.